What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Hook J podcast. In this episode, we're going to go over what we think is going to happen at UFC 230 with Daniel Cormier and Derrick Lewis. So stick around for that. We're also going to give a mention to the Dallas Crystal Cup Open. Enjoy the show.
They're here.
Welcome to the Hook J Podcast.
Who the fuck is that guy? Who the fuck is that?
When it's all said and done, I know one thing that I can do. I can fight. I can give it, and I can take it.
You should have left me over on that other game that I'm from, that more ruthless game where we bounce heads off the canvas and drill them into the floor. You should have left me where I was.
The show starts now.
UFC 230 is this week. That being said, the heavyweight belt is on the line in the Garden this Saturday. The double champ DC versus Derrick Lewis. Lewis is coming in as the underdog, but with a win streak behind him, compared to a man who's only lost once in his entire UFC career to John Jones, who is a two-division champ. How does Derrick Lewis compare? Now, Derrick Lewis is a bigger man. Obviously, he hits harder than DC, but his wrestling ability lacks, and so does his cardio. How do you think he's going to fare against DC?
It's really hard for me to call this one. I'm hoping DC doesn't do like he did to Stipe, and we all just kind of get blindsided by a over-the-clinch right hand and just knocks him out, which I doubt will happen to Derrick Lewis, of all people, in the early goings.
Derrick Lewis took both a punch from Roy Nelson and Mark Hunt, and he didn't go down on either one of them.
Oh, yeah, he's
he's got a good
cookie.
chin. He's got a good
tough cookie. I'll give him that.
So Lewis, he's a bigger man. He's coming in as the underdog. I think it was plus 500, which is like you had to put 500 on him to win $100.
100 to win 500.
Is it 100 to win 500?
When you're plus, yeah. When you're under.
So DC, you had to put 700 on him to win $100.
Yeah.
That's a big odds difference. I think that's like 8 to 1. That's one of those ones where if you have a little bit of money, you might as well just put it on Derrick Lewis just in case.
Yeah, just go ahead and put $50 on him. Maybe you'll get a nice little $250 return.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. But Derrick Lewis, being the bigger man, he's physically opposite of Daniel Cormier most of the time. He's a bigger dude. He's got a bigger build. But Cormier, he's a smaller guy, but he's a wrestler. And the big thing coming to this is Derrick Lewis, obviously he's not that skilled in grappling. He's more the guy who's going to sprawl and brawl. He's the guy, he's the black beast for a reason. You can't count him out. His last fight, he knocked the dude out in the last, 15 seconds?
Yeah, the very last part of the match, he knocked out Vulcan.
So you can't really count him out. The big factor in this one, the one I see, I think the one every analyst is going to tell you is the cardio of Derrick Lewis. How is that going to last against Daniel Cormier? Because we all know Derrick Lewis has that knockout power. If he touches DC at some point with just a hard-ass right, which we know he's going to look for, he's going to catch him, and I doubt DC will get back up. Here's the interesting thing is, how is Derrick Lewis going to fare against DC's grappling? We know DC is, the master of grappling at this point. He's did it a lot of the fights. He takes people down, holds you down, and that's pretty much it. That's his plan most of the time. But how is Derrick going to be able to come back from that? Because being held down on the ground is different, completely different than trying to outstrike somebody. It tires you out a little faster if you're not used to it. So how do you think this is going to play out?
I think Derrick Lewis is going to hit him with a head kick and knock him out.
I was thinking it's a possibility.
Right.
No joke. I thought that was a possibility because Derrick's one of the few people that actually throws.
In the heavyweight division, he is one of the few people that throws actual kicks. Now, I'm not saying he's John Jones and he's going to set it up for 2 rounds and then fucking blast him. That's probably not what's going to happen, but there's a possibility. And I would think it would be one of those things he wouldn't even see coming. Like, what? Derrick threw a kick?
Yeah, I was saying it's a long shot, but he's one of the few people who do it, so it is an option. You know?
Man, I think he threw a flying knee one time, too.
Yeah, he's one of the few heavyweights that get off the ground, which is amazing.
Other than Verdum.
Oh, yeah, Verdum does some weird shit.
Yeah, he does, flips and cartwheel kick. He's a crazy dude.
Yeah. Especially when he's in, Strikeforce those days. I see the big factor in this fight is obviously Derrick Lewis' cardio and DC's wrestling ability. But a lot of people are going. DC is obviously the favorite for a reason. He's a double champ. He's only lost to Jon Jones. That being said, when someone is that dominant, oftentimes you don't hear the stories about them beating somebody. You hear the stories about them losing. Mike Tyson. Everyone knows Mike Tyson. Everyone knows Buster Douglas. Why? Because Buster Douglas beat Mike Tyson with an odds that was like 37-1. Everyone knows Holly Holmes because she beat Ronda Rousey with, I think it was even 8-1 odds like this.
Weidman was Silva.
Everybody knows him. There's certain people that stick out. Is there a possibility this could be that fight?
There's always that possibility. I will say Derrick Lewis probably has the famous puncher's chance, but that's a hell of a punch to take. In DC, I don't think DC's ever been hit like that. I don't think anybody's ever hit him that hard because he has been at light heavyweight for a while, and the only other person he's fought at heavyweight in the UFC has been Stipe and God, I cannot remember who he fought in the beginning. But
he fought a few people in the UFC at the very beginning that were fairly decent. They're heavyweights. You can't count out a heavyweight punch. You can end the match at any point. Other than that, other than the Jon Jones KO, right? I can't really remember a time that he's been cracked. There's people he's fought that obviously have one hell of a right. Like Dan Henderson comes to mind, but he was really good at controlling distance and getting in and ragdolling Dan all over the ring. He did that with Gustafsson. You can argue Gustafsson's got a pretty good left. You can argue a few people that were really good at cracking, but he's got a fairly decent chin. He's never really been hurt besides the Jon Jones fight.
Here's what I see happening, though. I think Daniel's going to come in, and he's going to apply that wrestler pressure where he's just forward in your face, just like he did in the Jones fight, just like he did with the Silva fight, just like he did with every fight. He's going to come forward because he has such a short reach, and he has to rely on his dirty box, and he's got to get in there to get you. I think he's going to be pretty much all up in Derrick Lewis's face, not really going to give Derrick a whole lot of striking distance, and that's where Derrick Lewis is going to be a lot better because Derrick, he knows his cardio isn't all that great. However, he has been doing a lot more cardio training leading up to this. He went from 30 minutes a day to 3 hours, which will help, but it won't help somebody who's been doing this for his lifetime. Embrace the grind kind of guy, and he's over there with Khabib and Luke Rockhold and Kane and all killers. This is something new for Derrick Lewis. Now, I'm not going to count Derrick Lewis out because, man, he may hit him with an overhand right that he doesn't see coming, and DC just gets flatlined. I really see DC just kind of walking forward, taking some shots, grabbing him, and just pushing him all around the match. Or all around the map.
I think that's what might happen. Derrick Lewis is a bigger dude. Obviously, he's probably going to come in, if I had to guess, 240, like in the higher is the 260s.
I don't think he's going to be at 260.
I think he's
well below.
He'll probably be at like 240-ish.
Did you see him at the weigh-ins? He looked a lot
slimmer. But DC, he's came in consistently at that like 230 range normally. I think his last fight. Well, no, this is heavyweight, so it might be a little heavier than that because he came in heavier than Stipe.
I think he was at 240 with Stipe.
Yeah, so maybe they'll be around the same.
Yeah, because Stipe he barely makes heavyweight because he comes in lean and mean at 225.
But then again,
and that's the opening.
That's when you're making the weight. That's not considering what you do the day before. And we both know, no joke, they love Popeye's chicken, both of them. Even to the point where Derrick Lewis got the sponsorship by Popeye's. Have you seen that?
Yeah, it's really funny.
Yeah. And, DC, he made that video a couple years ago where it's like the gif now of him eating the chicken.
Right.
Which I was kind of disappointed at Popeyes when they're like...
apparently DC's now sponsored by Carl's Jr.
Are they?
He's been pushing that one, and Carl's Jr. has been tweeting him. But, side note, there is a few places in Texas that if Derrick Lewis wins, it's free chicken from 2 to 4 the next day.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Sweet. That's cool.
Side note, Derrick Lewis also gets free Popeyes from the ones that are close to him.
Oh, nice. That's a good thing, man.
Part of his new deal. Did you see him during the face-off?
No.
Like right when they were about to break, he's like, "Yeah, I got that Popeyes money now."
That's a good one.
Yeah, it was
That's
hilarious.
a good one.
The double champ can barely hold his composure for a minute.
It was like the thing, between the two, DC, he's a great champ. He's a good commentator. He's a fun dude to be around. You know, he's the guy that you would hang out with if you're at work with him. He's the guy that you're like, okay. But Derrick Lewis is the guy you're like, oh, he's over by the water cooler. I'm gonna go talk to him. You know, he's that fun dude, and I think he'd be a fun heavyweight champ to have. You know, every time he has a fight, he's got something to say, and it's always like
and
the
it's off
funniest
the
thing.
wall. It's
Yeah.
so off the wall too. DC though is a very good and possibly the best representative of MMA as a whole.
Oh yeah,
He's a really stand-up guy. He's never put Derrick Lewis down. In the lead up and all the interviews I've read, you know, he's like, hey man, I can't underestimate the guy who got denied parole twice, on his third time got out, and now he's making millions doing UFC. And he's like, I can't deny this guy's talent because he rose from a bad position, I think he said, to where he's at now. So he's got the mentality and the mindset to come in there and to hurt me, but I'm the champ. So
yeah.
I mean, like he's always talking up his opponents too, which is a really good guy. And then you got Derrick Lewis over here who's doing his thing and slowly making himself, you know, he's building himself up constantly. And then side note for anybody who doesn't know, Derrick Lewis did help out whenever Houston had the hurricane. He was down there with his truck helping it. He's a local boy from Houston, and all that stuff happened to him. And he was down there helping people out. So these are two really good dudes down, you know, deep down. They're really good guys. They just happen to be fighters.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited for this one because this isn't the Khabib and Conor, let's throw a dolly, let's jump the cage kind of thing. This is more of a good representation of what MMA is all about, especially nowadays. This isn't the early days, and this isn't the Attitude Era of WWE. This is MMA of what it should be with the respect.
Yeah. The whole deal about this one fight in this main event comes down to what's going to happen when you back a guy in a corner. Derrick Lewis has nothing to lose and everything to gain, right? He goes in, say he loses, then he's number one contender still, right? But if he wins, he gets the belt. DC, if he loses, he's no longer, you know, he's not the champ. He loses the championship. He's got one belt. Is he going to retire that one belt? I don't think he wants to retire that one belt. I think he wants to retire both belts. If he loses this belt, he doesn't get that Brock Lesnar fight. You know what they're going to set against Brock Lesnar? Derrick Lewis. Brock Lesnar is going to get a title shot when he comes back. That's pretty much guaranteed. So the question is, what is Derrick Lewis going to do when he's backed up against the corner? You know, the thing is, you know, you back a dog up against the fence, he's probably going to bite you. That might happen. So that being said, I don't know how this fight's going to turn out. I can guess to it. I can guess DC is going to use, you know, his superior wrestling, take him down, and go, okay, this is how MMA math turns out. But you can't do it. You can't do the MMA math. You can only kind of guess at what's going to happen. You know, MMA is not a science like boxing. MMA is a guessing game like fights. Like that's what it is, because it's a fight inside of a cage with a little bit of rules. You know, it's not strongman competition anymore. It's a little more dignified, but it's got a couple rules. You can kind of do the math, but not really. That being said, Chris Weidman versus Jacare is the co-main event, which is a fairly decent one. I thought the rematch that they were originally going to do, which was Weidman versus Luke Rockhold,
I am so disappointed that didn't happen.
it would have been okay. I really didn't really care too much about it.
I would have really liked to see that one over Jacare Souza.
But this one I think is a little more interesting than the Luke Rockhold fight. Yeah, it would have been nice to see Weidman try to get that win back or that loss back. But with Jacare, you get to see a wrestler versus a jiu-jitsu guy, that's always interesting to me. It's how a guy who's dominant on top game versus a guy who's dominant on the bottom game. And Jacare, he's no slouch. So I think it's going to be a good matchup between the two. You got Chris Weidman, who is a dominant with a top game because he's an all-American wrestler, versus Jacare, who's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, more of a bottom game type guy. But they're both no slouches on the feet. Weidman, of course, doing what no one ever could do, dethroned Anderson Silva. Jacare, who's no slouch. He's beat some of the top guys in the sport for a while now. He's been in the UFC for a good chunk of time. It's going to be interesting to see how this fares out between both of them, right?
Again, it's a wrestler versus a BJJ guy, but Jacare, when he gets a hold of you, he very, very rarely lets go. He's an alligator for a reason, right? Yeah. So Jacare is always fun to watch too. because he has a lot of unexpected power. Like you look at him and you know he's a BJJ guy, but looking at his build, you gotta kind of back off and like, wait a minute, this guy, he's got hidden power in them strikes.
You gotta respect him from all angles. I think Jacare is a really interesting dude because every time I've watched him with the ground game, it's very calculated. It's not necessarily like a Damian Maia style. It's more of a traditional style, but not necessarily the like strictly traditional. If he's got a hold of you, he slowly puts you in position, and then when he gets to the point where he can put something in, he does it very quickly, and it's in. There's not a lot of getting out of it, and that's probably the most intriguing thing that I know about him is that when he has this opportunity, he takes it, which is why he's the alligator, he's the crocodile, or was it alligator?
It's one of those.
Yeah, whatever the hell
one of those serpents.
he does with his hands, where he.
I think it's the alligator.
It's the alligator.
I think it's what it is.
He's one of those guys that strikes at when he knows he can, and that makes it really interesting because Weidman, he's more of a like I'm gonna get in there and go for it type style most of the time, especially on his run up to the title and a little bit afterwards. But he derailed himself when he lost to Rockhold. So,
but if you look who he's fighting, though, you could very
it's all top ranked
see
guys.
yeah,
It's in the top 10.
Gastelum, Whitaker, Yoel Romero. I mean, these are not easy guys to fight. One of them's the current champ. One of them fought the champ twice and almost got him the last time.
Musasi, right? Is the one who knocked him out?
Yeah, well, he won.
Or that was a
he won
DQ.
against Musasi. He won in a submission against Musasi.
Who was the one that?
He
No, that was
also-
Yoel Romero that kneed him into oblivion.
Yeah. Woo!
Yeah, so that was a rough one. So it's going to be interesting to see how this fares out between Jacare and Weidman. Between the two, I was on the Weidman train when he was going through the belts and took out Silva and all that. I couldn't tell you about Jacare. You can't count him out at any point. He's always the guy who's like the last moment he could throw something in or he can come in and dominate the fight. Between the two, I'd probably take Weidman because I'm American.
The all-American Chris Weidman. I'm going to go with Weidman, too, on that one, just because it's hard. It is so hard to pick against somebody who has top pressure ability. If right now wrestling seems to be the thing in the UFC, if you don't got it, you're done. And it's really showing because maybe it's a style thing. They haven't matched up any really good BJJ guys with a wrestler to really, show that BJJ is still very predominant and you need it. But right now there seems to be a trend that the wrestlers are just winning. I look forward to Chris Weidman probably getting a lot of top pressure, and as long as he doesn't make any dumb mistakes or amateur level mistakes that he probably shouldn't make, he probably should know not to make against Jacare, I'm pretty sure his top pressure will either pull out a decision or a late TKO.
The thing about Weidman is he's got this history of getting really confident in the fight and then messing up. Like when he lost the title to Rockhold, he tried some spinning stuff. Rockhold caught him, and then it went all downhill from there. After that one hit, he tried to throw like a spinning fist. Rockhold's like sidestepped it, hit him a couple times, and I think it went in the next round is when he finished him. Yoel Romero, perfectly read him to the point to where he knew he was going to shoot because Weidman got really confident and hit him with that knee to oblivion.
Good Lord.
Weidman has a problem with, getting set in his ways and getting overly confident with something and then getting caught. And Jacare has a way of making it to where he can read you and then strike and be into it. So it's going to be interesting to see how this fares out between the two of them, for sure. I would definitely watch that one.
It's like a real crocodile. He just kind of lays there and then waits for his opportunity and grabs you. But yeah, this should be a good one. Again, I think I'm gonna go with Weidman though. I don't think he's gonna knock him out. I think he's just gonna TKO him, either that or a stoppage late. I don't think it'll happen early. I don't think anything will happen early with those two. But I'm not professional. I don't gamble on this stuff. So here we go.
Any other fights on the card you want to talk about?
I'll glance over. David Branch and Jared Cannonier should be a decent one. I'm not really too sold on Jared Cannonier, so I'll probably pick David Branch on that one because David Branch hits like a truck. God, that guy.
Yeah, he's got one hell of a right.
There's Carl Robertson and Jack Marshman, and that'll probably be the fight I get up and go take take a bathroom break on that one. Not really excited about that one. That's nothing against the guys. I'm just not into those two guys right now. The only other one I want to watch.
This fight seems like it should be a little higher up in the card.
I think so too, but I think it's because their rank or Israel's rank is 9, so I think they dropped it down just to get us into the card.
He just got in the UFC, so
yeah, but he's had 2-3 fights already. I think this is the fight to kind of get everybody into the main card. Like, hell yeah, everybody, this is the main event. This is the main card. It's Israel Adesanya, the last stylebender, versus Derrick Brunson. Now, these two guys have been talking so much shit to each other.
They were talking shit before the fight was even set.
These guys were talking so much shit. Like, Derrick kept calling Israel untalented and like, dude, you'll get lit up if you fight me or you fight any real fighters in UFC. So now they're actually going to square off, and I'm not going to lie, I am on the hype train with Israel because he does some very, very inventive shit. He's so talented, and other than his MMA career, his kickboxing career, every time I think he's lost 3 or 4 times, but
it was by decision, wasn't it?
No, he got knocked. He got flatlined in 2 of them.
Okay.
But he even talks about, like, the first time he got knocked out, like, the guy hit him with the, I think it was a kick, but the guy had his hand in a certain position that he couldn't see. He kind of masked the kick with it. So he's like, I developed not to ever get hit like that again. And then something else happened. So he is constantly improving himself in a way that a lot of fighters take a little bit more time to, and he's still young. And I'm glad he's in the UFC, which is top talent. And now he's going to fight Derrick Brunson, who I've never really been sold on Derrick Brunson.
Derrick has always been like a hit or miss.
Yeah, he's a hit or miss kind of guy for me.
He's never been a guy that I've been like fully behind. He's a good fighter. He's never been the guy that I'm like 100% like, I want to see Brunson fight. Israel, he's a great fighter. I've watched a couple of his kickboxing matches. He does great. He knows how to read people when it comes up to stand up. He knows how to be creative and throw certain things here and there. So the one thing I've noticed about Israel is the fact that over his UFC record, they haven't really put a lot of like ground people against him. They haven't put any wrestlers against him. They haven't put any jiu-jitsu people against him because he's such an advanced striker, and they know he's going to put on a good show, right? They know he's probably going to hit him with a couple jabs. He might get a fight of the night. He might get a knockout because he's so advanced with just striking in general. That being said, going forward, I would love to see him actually fight somebody who has a great ground game. Derrick Brunson, he's got a pretty good one. He's been in the UFC for a while. He's did his thing, but he's not necessarily, a high caliber wrestler. He's not, Frankie Edgar. He's not DC. He's not, these big people that know how to wrestle and take people down and hold them down. He's not Weidman. He's not these people that are going to grab you, figure out a way through your striking, grab you, put you up against the cage, and take you down, and that's where you're going to be for the fight. I would love to see what he's got on the ground, especially on his back, because that's probably where he's going to spend most of the time if he does go against a wrestler. So I imagine he's probably working on it, but we haven't seen most of it. So if Bronson was smart, I think that's probably what he would need to do, is figure out a way through it, get in there, get him up against the cage, and then take him down, and that's where it's going to be. But you got to get through whatever he throws at you, which is the thing.
He is definitely somebody you want to watch in those early fights that he had, those top 3, or those first 3 fights he had. Israel is somebody you really want to go and watch because the way he comes up with some of his elbows and his knees that he was throwing just from different angles, odd angles, that comes from his kickboxing background. And, coming in with 75 wins, 5 losses, and a draw in kickboxing, that's a lot of fights already. So we all know he is an elite level striker, and I do wholeheartedly agree that they need to put him against a grappler, somebody who can just walk forward, take some of those hits, grab him, and put him in a very uncomfortable position to see what he's really capable of. At this point, with that many fights, there's no reason to keep training your striking. Maybe just drilling it and coming up with some new stuff here and there. But
a lot of pad work, maybe some light sparring, but I think the majority of the focus should be on the ground game because the chances are, eventually, if you're in the UFC, you're going to go against somebody who's going to be able to grab you, and you're not getting away. There's going to be somebody there who's going to grab you, You're not going to get away. You're going to think you're going to try to get away. He ain't going to let it happen. And then that's where your entire game plan is going to go undone. So he definitely needs, if I were him, that would be what I'm taking, especially if he's in the division. He's in middleweight, right? Where he's going to, the champs, Robert Whittaker. And is it Yolo? No, Yolo went up, right?
Yolo, I think, went up to 205.
Did he? Yeah. I think
he finally said he was just going to go up to 205 because the weight cut's so hard on him.
Well, even then, you got Weidman. He's there unless he goes up. I think he was saying about going up to making a run recently. Luke Rockhold, that'd be interesting to see him go against them too. But
Rockhold's a little chinny right now.
Yeah. So it depends on who exactly he's going to be. He's fighting in the future, but he definitely needs to work on it at some point because he's going to eventually find somebody that's not going to necessarily get hit and then back off and go, oh, I'm going to try to punch him in the face. No, he's going to find somebody who's going to get hit and then go, well, I know you can hit me, but I'm going to go through it and then grab you. That's my biggest worry when it comes to him. With such a big kickboxing record that was,
75-5.
75-5, yeah. You definitely have an advantage of stand-up. But it's the same thing with, Verdum. When he got in there, everyone's like, oh, my God, Verdum's going to beat the shit out of people because he's got this big advanced kickboxing record. He was in K1 and Pride and all that. But then when he fought people that were better grapplers, oftentimes he got, grabbed, pushed against the cage, thrown down, and that's where the fight ended.
Well, he might have a hard time with Kevin Gastelum. Kevin Gastelum's got a lot more size on him. He could take a whole lot more hits.
Yeah, Gastelum would probably give him a problem.
And I know Gastelum does have a little bit of wrestling ability, too.
Hector Lombard, that'll give him a problem. Santos.
Thiago, the Thor guy, as Jacob calls him.
Thor guy, yeah, that'll probably give him a problem.
That would be a really good fight because Thiago has a really good BJJ background. He just never has to use it.
Jacare is on the card, too. He'd give him a problem.
I don't know. Jacare can get hit.
There's certain people that definitely give him a problem. Is all the only people I think about that is the people who can get in close, grab him, take him down. Other than that, stand-up wise, I think he's got it, with most of the people that are in there, in that division.
Yeah, stand-up, I think he's probably other than Whittaker, he's probably got some of the best, if not the best, striking for the division. It's really going to come down to who can grab him and make him uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. If you can take him out of that being comfortable, and, throw him off his game plan, I think you unravel everything with him.
But then again, he's never been put in that position, so we don't know.
Yeah.
We have no idea what Israel is capable of.
It comes down to the former mentioned MMA math.
Yeah.
You can never do it. You can try, but you can't. Any other fights on that card you want to talk about?
The prelims ain't really got anything. There's only 4 fights on the prelims. The Jason Knight and Jordan Rinaldi fight might be decent because Rinaldi's a striker and Jason Knight's always game to get punched in the face.
Yeah, he's always pretty much game.
The early prelims, you got nothing. The only one I would watch would be the Shane Burgos fight. He's fighting Kurt Holobog, but Shane Burgos is not a pushover. He's a guy who's always ready to go.
We got an Ultimate Fighter rematch there with a finalist.
Sijara Eubanks versus Roxanne Modafferi.
Yeah, she's a veteran of the sport. She's been around for a while.
So why do they still have her in this uniform?
Because she was on the Ultimate Fighter. That was her last thing she did. This happened in the last season of the Ultimate Fighter when they had the women. Roxana, I think, made it to the finals because one of them got hurt and had to drop out. And this is a rematch of one of the fights that happened. I can't remember what exactly happened on there. But I remember that season, especially going like, oh, it's pretty decent. It's a pretty good season.
According to the UFC site, though, we're looking at the fighter rating here. Sijara Eubanks is a stump. She has no arms or legs.
No inches.
Her reach is 0 inches. Her leg reach is 0 inches. So,
dude, I guarantee you Roxanne's just going to beat the hell out of her then. She's like a punching bag. It's like one of those...
but how does she have 4 wins?
Just with a chin. That's all it is. Just throws the chin out there. Bam.
She lets them wear themselves out and then she just lays on them?
Takes the Homer Simpson approach.
What if her wrestling is just through the roof?
Maybe. That'd be amazing.
Get this stump off me!
But I think that would be a fairly decent one to watch. I like that season. The Ultimate Fighter was pretty good. Ben Saunders, That'd be an interesting one. I don't know the other guy.
Lyman Good versus Ben Saunders might be worth watching.
Ben Saunders, he's a vet. Lyman Good.
Lyman Good.
Lyman Good. I'm not too versed on him, so I don't know. But they both look like they could definitely scrap. I know Ben Saunders can. Lyman Good's got 18?
Yeah, look like he's got an 18-pack there.
Yeah, 18-pack. And they have some fight prelims on UFC Fight Pass.
Other than that, that's about it, guys. So that's going to wrap up the UFC 230, UFC 230 coverage. Jacob, you got anything?
Only the most important thing you're going to do in November.
Thanksgiving?
Nope. The Dallas Crystal Cup Open. The Dallas Crystal Cup Open happens on November 10th. It is their 5th annual one here. They have a featured division this year of the Ultimate Grappler Qualifier, which is a man's no-gi advanced absolute. The winner qualifies and advances to compete in Orlando, Florida, where the Ultimate Grappler 2018 will be crowned and a grand prize of $2,500 will be awarded. Early registration is October 21st for 2 divisions. Late registration is November 6th for 2 divisions, and late registration should be November 9th. Go to www.nucjjf.com and register.
If you're interested, you don't really have to. I mean, if you're not a BJJ guy.
Oh, no, you can totally do it. You go register for it, but I guarantee you it's not going to be a good day for you. But I imagine it's going to be pretty fun to go watch and see. We'll have a review of it for you. I don't know who's competing. It's kind of an open tournament right now, so I can't do the pre-review like we did with XKO. Like, oh, these people are going. However, in December, we have another tournament we're going to be doing. That's going to be a little more interesting. We'll get into that probably the next episode. But remember to go to www.nucjjf.com and register. You can follow them on Facebook at New Breed Ultimate Challenge, which is the company that's putting it on. They got pretty good gear, if you don't know. You can also follow them on Instagram at NUCJJF.
You can follow us on Twitter at HookedJustin and at HookedJP because Jacob didn't want the other handle they wanted to give him. Links below for our Twitter accounts and for the Dallas Crystal Cup Open. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Hook J Podcast. Hope you enjoyed today's show. See you next episode.
Sometimes you've got to do what's right for you and not do what's right for everybody else.